how to boost creativity, not only creativity, our topic today, but efficiency of thinking. And we will be talking more about how to prevent reactive thinking, how to go beyond, to step out of our reactive thinking, our typical thinking.
Edward, just sorry for interrupting. Would you like to ask questions to our attendees? Maybe people can briefly introduce themselves and describe why they are attending.
Yes, surely. Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah.
Yes, guys, would you like to start? Let's start with Maria. Maria, could you start, please? Why do you decide to take part in this session?
Dear Rosanna, thank you so much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be part of this talk. I decided to join this lecture because I'm always interested to learn new ways of how to increase my efficiency as a person, as a creative entrepreneur. And so, of course, I know Edward for more than 10 years, and I know how creative and how interesting his life and his life path has been for the past decade, because he's also a talented musician, a videographer, and and now a father. So I'm very interested to just see Edward and learn from him. I'm really happy to be here. So my goal is to get interesting facts and information and interesting tools that I can apply that on into my everyday life. So thank you for organizing, and it's been really a pleasure to join, and I'm really enjoying it already, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. It is a pleasure to see you here. Yes, Belgin, I can see your message. You want to think and do things out of box in a new way. That is why you joined this, and you cannot talk, that's right, and you can type. That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Good intention.
Ira?
I was interested with the title. Indeed, it means I already admit that I'm creative already, but I want something to boost my creativity. And like Belgin said, I even want to see something that there is no box at all.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ira. After Bless, can you please add a comment? What are your expectations probably from this event? How to be productive through creativity? Okay, thank you, Bless. Then we have Lawrence. Lawrence?
So I came to the event just to basically learn how to be a better leader and not cause more confusion within the men and women, parents in the community here about the pandemic and what are the restrictions, because I've organized a few events in person and I'm not quite sure if my message is getting across correctly. When I say correctly, I mean that people seem to still be afraid even after the vaccination. People still are afraid to meet up, even for hiking. So I'd like to socialize with everyone, but I'm not quite sure if my message is getting across. So that's why I came to the event, to learn how to be more creative in keeping the message concise, to the point, and getting a positive outcome if it's possible, even after vaccination. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Massimo.
Yeah.
Yes, Massimo, could you briefly introduce yourself and the reason you attend the event?
Well, it's very simple. I'm interested in learning. I learn different area of human knowledge, physical and mental. And about creativity, I study different way, so I want to see if there is something that I can learn more, something new. I studied a lot about it, about creativity, about the use of my mind, busy at the beginning was I studied medicine and psychology and psychiatry. This was my specialization and neurology. So anything is connected with the usual mind could be interesting for me.
I see. Okay, thank you very much, Massimo.
It's
And the last person, Windy.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Winnie, come from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I want to learn some new thing and I want to know the way to boost creativity, my creativity and more efficient in my work. So that's why I want to enjoy this event.
Thank you very much for introducing yourself. And it seems that most of our participants first wants to increase their creativity and learn more techniques, and just in general are curious in this topic.
I don't have a scientific approach to this. I can call it a poetic or artistic approach to this question. And I will share my personal experience, what I researched during the last 3 years when I was writing my book. And so I'm not pretending to be a scientist in this topic. I'm just trying to fill you with enthusiasm, with positive thinking, with some ideas how to step out of reactive thinking. We will be talking about what's holding us back, what stops us, what makes our thinking reactive. For example, everyone has its own problems, tasks, ideas, goals to achieve, and sometimes we feel that something prevents us from achieving our new goals, or we can't resolve some difficult situations for many years. So we will be discussing what can be the problems. The next part is magic tools, what helps us in creative thinking, in resolving some problems, and what goals should we choose actually? Why should we set goals, and what kind of goals should we choose to make our life more fulfilled, more effective, and to create this journey more enjoyable, not just achieving our goals? And so look around now. I told that everything that you can see in your life, it is not just your circumstances, it is you. It is your choice, it is you. We have the responsibility for everything that surrounds us. It's our starting point that we stop blaming other people, we stop blaming difficult situations, we stop blaming life, world, universe, and we understand that we are masters of our lives, and it's our total responsibility. What we have around us, it's us. And what's holding us back? What stops us? First of all, negative belief. First important negative belief that makes people less creative and less successful in their life, less smart, is believe that they are not creative person. So could you answer for yourself, do you consider yourself a creative and clever person? And there was a research, psychological research, where a large group of people were studied, and psychologists wanted to understand what parameters, what features of their lives can influences on their thinking, on their creativity. And they studied different parameters like age, gender, biography, beliefs, thoughts. And the conclusion was that the main important parameter that influenced how people were realized in their life is just this belief. I'm not creative, I'm not clever enough, I'm not creative enough, or I'm creative person, I'm clever person, I'm confident person. So it's just this belief was the base of this conclusion. So we are starting saying that we are creative. It's our choice. It's just our choice to be creative, to be clever, to be confident. It's our starting point. And what can we do with negative beliefs? Simple as it is, positive affirmations. I'm a clever person, I'm a confident person. If you don't feel that it's truth for you, and you don't believe that I'm a talented person, I'm a creative person, I'm a rich person, then start just using your imagination. It's an acting technique, acting method, that how actors play different roles, different characters in their work. They often use the imagination. And when we emerge in our imagination, we start to feel ourselves other way, not typical way. So it's just like being in a dream. Start to imagine how would your life be if you were a totally confident, rich, talented, creative, smart person. Just imagine how would your life be? How would your relationship be? How would your work, your job look like? And where do you live? How would you behave? But it starts with strong feeling. So positive affirmations, we imagine this and we feel this strong feeling of our confidence, sense of assurance. And then when we feel this, our thinking process starts changing. So this question you can repeat every time when you want to think not in a typical way. For example, you have the same problem that you couldn't solve for several months. You have some reasons why you couldn't do it, but now you can push it away and ask yourself, how would I act and think if I were a super powerful, positive, confident, creative, and clever person? Just imagine. If it's your typical feeling, then you can change words. How would I act and think if I were a 5-year-old boy? Or if I were a politician, if I were a soldier in the middle of the war? So this question can be really a powerful artistic method to step out of your usual thinking and to look at your problem from another point of view. Next thing, going from this, negative thinking in general, because negative thinking is not your choice. Unfortunately, our mind tends to negativity, and negative thinking usually spend our energy, so that we don't have enough energy for positive thinking, for creative thinking. We have to delete these negative thoughts, but before we can do this, we have to know that negative thinking, it's not our thinking. Our mind tends to negativity. And generally, we can say that it is more correctly to say my brain is thinking than I am thinking. when we know that, okay, my brain is thinking mostly it's by itself without my choice, and mind tends to negativity because one of the most important tasks for our mind is to survive. That's why if we don't direct our thinking process consciously, then reactive thinking tends to negativity, because we have to see, if we want to survive, we have to see that this situation can be dangerous for us. This man or woman can be dangerous for us. What are probable dangers can be today, tomorrow? That's why our mind tends to negativity. And if you don't believe that usually our mind thinks by itself without our choice, then you can just sit in a quiet place for 10 minutes, close your eyes, and just make an order to your brain not to think for 10 minutes. Then after a minute, 2, 3 minutes, you will see that your brain doesn't agree with you, and it starts thinking on its own. That's why that's the first step, how we can move from negative thinking to positive thinking, because when we start perceiving negative thoughts as not our thoughts, we step aside and look at these negative thoughts like it is not our thoughts. Then it's the first step how we can overcome these negative thoughts. You can see that they start vanishing. And what can we do? How can we transform it to positive? It's perception, observation, attention. This means that we stop judging anything that we see around us. You can do it not all the time, but just set different parts of your day for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for an hour, and stop judging anything that you see. You don't have to think, is it right or is it wrong? Is this person bad or good? And you start observing. Just put your attention to everything you can put on, or inner space or outer space. You will see that at this time, when you stopped judging everything, when you stop blaming yourself or other people or life or situation, and you start just observing what is at this moment, you start feeling that it's like feeding yourself. You start receiving energy from the world, from this moment. Your energy start returning back to yourself, because when you stuck in negative thinking, your energy goes to that negative situation or to that person who you are complaining about. In Qigong, there is a saying. Qigong, it's Chinese practice. It is said that where your mind goes, the energy flows. Where your attention goes, the energy follows. If we don't want to put our energy everywhere and to focus this energy to creativity in our life, we have to stop thinking in a negative way and start just perceiving what is right now. I am. I am. Everything just is, are. And it's a magic feeling. And it's the basis of creativity. When you stop thinking and just start perceiving, it's the basis of creative thinking, of creative process. And Rudolf Steiner, philosopher and founder of anthroposophy, said that if I meet other people and criticize their weaknesses, I rob myself of higher cognitive power. And higher cognitive power, we can say that it is higher consciousness, higher mind, higher creativity. But if I try to enter deeply and lovingly into another person's good qualities, I gather in that force. And we need that force to be creative in our life, to be effective in our life. Without this force, we usually tend to repeat our patterns of actions, of behavior. Next is overthinking, when we think too much about our problem. And the idea is that overthinking is also energy draining. Not only negative thinking, but just overthinking about your task, about your problem, about your goal. And you have too much tension in your body, too much tension in your mind. But we need energy to be creative and effective. So that's why we can say that the fewer thoughts you have in your head, the stronger each thought becomes. Because when you have 10 thoughts at one time, or 10 different tasks, different directions in your mind, then it's like trying to catch 10 balls at one time. And when we calm down our minds and focus on one specific task, we can gather this energy. And we not only want to create ideas, but we want to realize these ideas, to create it on material level, to do this project, to accomplish this, not just to leave it only as ideas. That's why we need this energy of each thought. What can we do for this? Relax and detox. Relaxation can really help us in creative process when we are overthinkers. Then it's our recipe. We have to relax more, to have weekends more often, and to stop thinking about our ideas, projects, tasks, and just to relax more. And we will see that this contraction and relaxation, this type of creative process, when we think about our problem, about our idea, we gather information, gather resources, and then we relax. Then you will see that the beautiful ideas, beautiful salvations will come much more easier. And detox means that we have to regulate what kind of information comes to our mind, because what we hear, what we watch, it all reflects how we think. And each fact that we've read in newspaper, on TV show, anywhere, or in our complacent conversations with other people, each thought, each idea, their energy, their vibrations can put something to our mind. And it's like eating too much food. So we have to clean our space, our mind, our material space, our psychological space. And that is the main base for creative process. Otherwise, we can just repeat the same ideas on and on, the same models. It will be just patterns. These ideas are laying on surface, but we want to go into depth to create something from deeper level of consciousness, not just from this surface level of consciousness. And the more thoughts we have in our mind, the more we are on our surface. And we can relax using breathing techniques. And when our breathing is slow and deep, our mind starts slowing down, become clearer. And you can try it anytime when you want to decide something important in your life. Just stop for 1, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just breathe without trying to resolve something. And you will see that your feeling becomes more confident, more powerful, and your thinking process starts changing. So breathing is one of the main gifts from the world, because it is not only for calming down your mind, but also for feeding yourself with energy. In Qigong practice, it is said that one of the main sources of energy is breathing, oxygen. And the way how we breathe reflects how we think, how we interact with other people, with ourselves. Shallow breathing shows our system that we are stressed. And when we are stressed, our system starts turning on our functions for surviving mode, to fight or flight. It is fast thinking, but it is not the wisest thinking, because when we are in an aggressive environment and we have to decide to fight or to flight, we are stressed, and it is not a good time for wise thinking. That's why our functioning, our system helps us to prevent injuries, and it's more instinctive way, it's more animalistic way of thinking. But if we want to create something from our depth, to think from our depth, we have to slow down our thinking process and relax, to release this stress, to release this tension. And how we can do this? By working with our breath, by slowing down our breath. We can just right now do several deep breaths. And observing how our feelings change. As I mentioned before, lack of energy is one of the reasons why we don't have as great level of creativity and efficiency in our life. When we are energized, it's much easier to deal with stressful situations. That's why if we want to be effective people, then of course we have to be energized. We have to know healthy tools to energize ourselves at any time. And physical exercises, healthy lifestyle help us. For example, I mentioned about breathing techniques, that it is one of the sources of energy. If you want to input more energy, you have to start breathing deeper and slower. And also you have to work with your body. In Qigong practice, it is said that a movement creates energy. And also when you start doing physical exercises, you move your energy from some problems, from other people, other situations, from environment that outside of you to your inner space. You start doing physical exercises, you start feeling something like blood circulation, energy circulation, that it is activated more than before. You start turning your attention to your body, and that's how you, again, you put in your energy back to yourself and stop spending it outside. That's why physical exercises can be so powerful tool for mental activity, especially for people who have whose activity is mostly mental activity, creative, mental, intellectual activity. Then it's our main activity for us is to do physical exercises. Also, what can prevent us from great level of creativity is unfinished tasks and promises. If you have debts, if you have some empty promises, some unfinished tasks or unfinished ideas that that are repeating in your mind on and on, you dreaming about it, you're thinking about it, everything that is not completed, spending your energy, spending your part of your creative power, of your cognitive power, thinking power. And energy returns to a person only after completing the task, completing the debt, completing the promise. You can sit and write down all that is in your mind, your all tasks, all ideas, all promises, all debts, and try to think, what can I delegate, what can I do in the nearest future, and where I can change conditions in our agreement, for example, to postpone maybe some deals. But if you are stuck with some difficult promises that you can't accomplish, it can be really a stumbling block for your next path, for your next journey.
Sorry for interrupting. We have several comments in our chat. From Massimo. Do you think the speed in 21st century about negative thinking is a little outdated? Massimo, could you explain, please?
Okay.
Yes.
Something is too much old. Speaking about positive affirmation is something that could be for, I don't know, Napoleon Hill 1 century ago.
Do you mean that this idea is too old or
It's too old? It's much more, it's not effective.
Not effective.
No.
The idea is that not positive thoughts are effective, but positive feelings are effective. Sometimes I'm teaching acting techniques, and we feel ourselves with other positive feelings using our imagination. We put ourselves in absolutely different atmosphere. For example, we're sitting right here, right now, but we are imagining that we are on the beach, for example, or our place of power, where we feel confident and super powerful and positive. And when we imagine this atmosphere, we can feel how this atmosphere influences on our body, on our feelings. And a different feeling starts influences on our thinking process. And when you start feeling differently, you start think differently. You start creating a new reality around you because of your new feeling. So that's why I think that positive affirmations can be useless when we don't have different feelings when we use them. But when we are filled with absolutely new feelings, not situations and thoughts that are really important for us, but more important for us, feelings, what we feel, what our emotions. how we perceive this situation, how we perceive this thought. In this way, I think that positive affirmations and positive thinking can really change lives. Also, otherwise, negative thinking can really destroy lives. It's as simple as it is, but it is a really simple and effective instrument. That is why it is not a mistake to tell about it again and again.
Thank you, Edward, and also comment from Lawrence that overthinking is procrastination.
Maybe yes, maybe it is one of the defensive programs. We will move to this question on future slides.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So next is complete all tasks and learn to say no. If you don't want to gather these empty promises, unfinished tasks, start to learn how to say no, how to refuse to do something new or what you don't want to do. No, because no. And so this is past trauma. I think it's one of the biggest barriers, stumbling blocks that can prevent us from effective and creative thinking. For example, overthinking is procrastination. It can be a program, the way how our psyche protects us from doing something dangerous, as it thinks that it is dangerous. For example, to be a successful and rich person is dangerous. If our mind thinks so, then it can put too many thoughts to our minds to prevent us from success, for example. I can tell some cases how our negative experience from past can influences how we think right now. And we can set whatever goals you want, but if your psyche thinks that it is dangerous for you and it wants to protect you from these probable dangers, then it is not so effective. And one case, I will mention two cases from my consultation practice. And one case was that when a man was a little boy, his father always told him that he couldn't do something. For example, the boy wanted to cut grass on the yard, but father told him that he couldn't handle it. He didn't know, this boy didn't know how to do this properly. And so this boy started to think that he is powerless, he is poor, he is weak, he can't do something properly. How it influences on his real life right now. He is a grown-up man and he has his own family. He is a director in a company, and at that time, during this childhood, he understood this role model, this model of being either a master or the weak person who can't handle something. And so in his life right now, he is repeating these two roles. For example, in family, he is a master, a leader, and other people, other members of family are not so smart, are powerless, and they always do something wrong. And in his work, to his boss, he is a powerless boy who always do something wrong, and he always repeat this kind of situations where his boss have to shout at him and to say that you did this wrong, you failed this project, and he, with his colleagues, with his employees, he plays the role of master, that my employees are stupid, they are powerless. So it is reactive thinking that was taught from this childhood, from these simple but regular situations. And if we don't remember this, that we had something like this in our childhood, then we can think that our thinking process, our goals, our ideas, it's our own choice. But sometimes it's not our choice, it's our psyche's choice. It's our psychological program's choice. And you can set whatever goal you wish, but if you have these protective programs, then it can somehow limit your possibilities and creativity. And the next case is a girl. When she was a little girl, she is a really creative and talented person. And from a very childhood, she had too many interesting, crazy, strange ideas in her mind, in her imagination. And he started to share these ideas with her family, with her parents. But when they went to relatives, for example, for some holidays, her parents told her not to speak about her creative ideas, about her strange imagination, and just sit still, be quiet. Don't show up, don't say something stupid, something crazy, because your relatives will think that you are crazy. And we don't want our girl to be crazy and our family to be considered a crazy family. So from this childhood, this girl understood that in order to survive in this society, in this world, she has to be still, she has to be quiet and not to express her ideas. And she came to me with a question: I don't like my job. I feel that I would like to create something artistic, to maybe to paint something, to do something creative, but where to do this? Which direction? Which projects should I start, and how to find my calling, my path? But the idea was that this thinking process about how to find myself, how to find where I should express myself, it was a protective program that prevents her from expressing herself freely. When I asked her, do you remember something from your childhood? First answer was no, everything was okay. For many of us, we think that trauma is something big. For example, disaster, illness, death of our relative. But trauma can be simple little phrases, but on a regular basis. For example, you are too strange, or you can't do this, you don't deserve this. Or if you want to be loved, you have to follow the rules of our family, for example. It can be little simple phrases, but it makes a trauma that will lead us to these protective programs, and it really limits our potential, our thinking process, our creative process. And because our psyche wants to protect us, it thinks that it is doing us a favor. It helps us, and we go on living an ordinary life without fully expressed and opened potential, but it is our comfort zone, it is our safe zone. And if you want to go to your past trauma, then and to rewrite it, what we can do, we can rewrite our past with positive feelings. And not the situations, negative situations are powerful, but more powerful are our feelings, our reactions on this situation. So if we want to rewrite our past situations, our negative situations, we don't want them to influence on our life right now, then we have to start feeling differently. So what can we do? How to rewrite your past? You can recall some unpleasant situations. It can be not a really big situation. It can be little unpleasant phrase at school, little unpleasant phrase amongst relatives. It can be hundreds or thousands of such situations, but try to remember, to recall what were the most unpleasant. And when you, in your imagination, come back to that situation, try to feel what are your feelings about this person, or about this situation. What do you feel when your parents do something, or when this person did something? You start expressing for yourself what you felt at that time. Because when we were children, we didn't express it for ourselves. We just forget it. But what can we do? Okay, we understood that, okay, I have anger about this person in this situation, and I want to beat him. But imagine that you are a super powerful, divine, positive, and friendly person, and that this person is a friendly person. It's just a situation for your experience. You are a resourceful person and a friendly, positive person. And at the same situation, the same past situation, how would you interact? How would you act? How would you think? What would be your behavior? And start imagine a new way of resolving this situation. And it would be positive way of this situation. And your negative feeling will go away. Maybe not from the first time, but when you return again and again to these harmful situations and rewrite your feelings about it, rewrite again and again from your resourceful state right now. For example, you did some physical exercises, you feel good, and so you can transform your past, your negative feeling, to positive feeling, and you can go back and forth again and again to this situation, to other situation, till you start realizing that your feelings, your negative feelings, start disappearing about this person, about this situation, and you don't have this strong emotion about situation. So when we are moving to magic tools, for example, this one is from art theory, theater tool. I didn't find this terminology in English. It is only in Russian. But when our life, when our circumstances, our surroundings are repeating every day, we are eating the same food, we are talking to the same people, we are going to the same place to work, to live, to have a rest, and then our mind starts thinking more reactive, more automatically. And this tool from theater is aimed to catch the attention of a viewer. For example, a viewer can see a forest, tree, a cat from Shrek, tree, and at that moment his attention becomes brighter. His consciousness becomes more strong at that moment when something unordinary happened. And you can use this tool in your life, for example, even changing the direction of your table, of your working table, can really change your thinking patterns. Try to change something new more often than usually. For example, to rent a house for a day in absolutely another place, different place where you haven't been, and you will see that your point of view on the same problems, on the same ideas will be changed. So, for example, even if you are eating with your right hand, you can start eating with your left hand. Just little changes can really change your mind. Next tool, listening. It's an interesting phrase from spiritual psychology that we adopt the state of consciousness of the people we listen to. That means that whom we are communicating with, whom we are listening to, more often we are receiving, we are consuming the same patterns of thinking and behavior from these people. And that's why, how can we use this? For example, you have a problem or a project that is unusual for you, and don't try to solve it, but find a person who has already solved it and just start listening to him. And it is a perfect time for us because we can find on YouTube so many interesting people with so different experience, so we can just catch him and just start listening. We don't need their information, first of all. We need their energy, their vibration, and it changes our thinking, it changes our behavior, it changes our point of view, our relation to ourselves and other people. So try to find people who has already where you want to be with your project or problem. Next tool is provide more details, because our mind and our subconscious mind are two powerful tools that we sometimes underestimate them. And we, for example, we say, I want to find a job with this kind of salary and this field of work and this location. But when we have specific details for our future project or where we would like to be, for example, 40 parameters, then our subconscious mind starts to think precisely to this, our order. It's important because sometimes we underestimate some parameters. For example, it is, yes, we found a job with our professionality in this location, but it doesn't have a real benefit to the world, for example. And so we are kind of fulfilled that we found this job, but some important point was missed for us, for example. It's like working with our imagination, like actors. you can write whatever you want. It's like a game. It's not about your personal interests. It's about your vision. And then when you are energized and resourceful, and from this point you start creating a new reality, then you can point out what parameters would be in this reality. And make some subconscious mind your friend. One of techniques is to ask yourself, your subconscious mind, or you can say divine power, request something before going to sleep, and then trying to remember what dream you had when you wake up, and you may find that there are some keys for your situation. It's not direct answers for your question. Maybe it can be symbolic, even without dreams. Even whenever you are, just request to the space, to the nature, to the cosmos. Just ask your question and wait for the answer, and it will be. Also, as I mentioned, that if you want your thoughts to be powerful, then you have to energize them with your feelings, positive feelings. How can we be filled with positive feelings? It's, as I mentioned, imagination, positive emotions, even watching movies, it's affirmations, whatever makes you feel better, physical exercises, I mean healthy tools, and not unhealthy. You can use it anytime, because positive feelings become gasoline for your creative process, for your thinking process. It's more important for us than circumstances, than situations. How do we feel among the chaos of unpleasant situations? If we feel ourselves good and comfortable, then it's okay. It's not a chaos. One more thing that I want to share with you, it's I wrote about it in my book. It's about having a free space when you are alone, because when you are always communicating with other people, for example, at home you are father or mother or a spouse or a children, if at work you have other roles, with neighbors you have other roles, and wherever you go you have other people, and your thinking process starts repeating according to these roles. If you want to step out of this typical accustomed thoughts and behavior, you have to find space in your life where there is no roles. For example, in the forest, you just are there. You are not someone in this space. You just are, and you are one with the space at that moment. And this is the most powerful feeling, when you feel the feeling of that you are together with the whole space. When we start communicating with our family, work, colleagues, and etc., we again feel that we are divided from each other. Art therapy and physical creation also can be a helpful tool, because what we do on a material level, it reflects on our mental level. And some people who work with totally mental activity, they sometimes miss this area where you can do physical exercises. Then when you can just hold something in your hands and you feel this on a level of your body. You perceive the universe, other objects, other people with your feelings through your body, not through your mind. And it's also give us a lot of information. And for example, there was a story in a temple, Buddhist temple, that there was a conversation between monks who will be the first enlightened person. And they all argued with each other, but the one agreement was that absolutely not this one monk who was too shy, and he always was whipping the dust in the temple every time he was doing cleaning in temple. And he was enlightened the first. And these monks came to the teacher and asked him why this poor guy was enlightened first. And the master said that when he was cleaning our floor, he also was cleaning his mind. And it's an easy and very enjoyful way of changing your thinking process. For example, you have some problem, you can go to our therapist or our therapy, and with this problem, this problem, start doing, for example, in the middle of this slide, you can see Neurographica, and your focus is on your problem, but you are solving your problem on a material level. And you will see that it reflects your real life. And your problem can be solved absolutely in an extraordinary way. And last part is what goals should we choose? Why is it important? For example, what is pure intention? Everybody heard about it. And what I can tell about pure intention is we see that there are our interests, my interests, we say. And I have my goals, I have my tasks, I have my projects, my ideas. And I want to realize my projects, to achieve my goals. It's not a pure intention. Pure intention consists of including other interests too. So my interests of other people, I want this conversation to be useful not only for me, but for everyone, for every participant. And we are going to the next level is the interest of the universe. When our intention based on the interests of the universe, then we become super powerful. And that's where our energy flows, where we can feel this unlimited resource to realize this intention. And if you make something for the universe, you can ask the universe for support. For scientific mind, for Western mind, it can maybe sometimes be a very funny way to solve our problems. We used to solve our problems rationally, logically, but when we put our tasks, our problems, not only on our shoulders, and we feel that we are not doing this project only for ourselves, but for the whole system. And that's why I have the right to ask the whole system to help me if it's in the interest of the whole system, of the universe. And when we rely on this help, on the support of the universe, it is much more easier to create what you want to create and to move on. And there will be much more joy in your journey. And last thing is a last phrase that usually we think that our purpose here is to create as many projects as we could, or to achieve as many goals as we could, or to transform as many people or as many places as we could. But one of the most important purpose here for us is to transform negative experience into positive ones. This place is not for positive experience. I mean, this place where we live usually gives us negative experience, something uncomfortable, something unusual. That's why we have to deal with new circumstances again and again. And it is not the question of circumstances and actions. It's the question of how could I transform my feelings from these negative feelings about this unusual, unpleasant situation into positive feelings where even in this chaos, in these unpleasant situations, I feel myself in security. I feel myself filled with love and joy and with open heart, dignity, and with this divine power that we have here when we feel our connection with the universe. So this is the end of my speech. Thank you for listening.